Ooh, people mad this chapter. People are mad at this chapter. But let's go over everything in order, all things in due time. Now, Scratch Manapoo has come to the realization that X-Drake is in fact a Navy spy. Yes, Scratch Manapoo and X-Drake are facing off against each other like many of us initially thought. However, Apu is backed by three of the numbers. And while Drake can take out at least one of them fairly easily, Apu and three numbers, that's gonna be a bit difficult. And Apu shows just how much of a slimy piece of shit he really is. And he's just like, hey, whoever wins this battle, they'll be tired, ripe for the picking. How about we team up and take them down? Seize the opportunity at the very end. And it's funny because Apu and X-Drake are two sides of the same coin almost, whereas Drake, he's betrayed various different people, but that was all a ruse, a guise. He's not the betrayer you would make him out to be, whereas Apu, he's every bit the betrayer you would expect him to be. He'll betray anyone if it gets him ahead. It's honestly shocking how much of a piece of shit Apu turned out to be altogether. Like, even when it came to Hawkins, his way of thinking was driven by probability, the odds, expectancy, stuff along those lines, so I can understand where he's coming from a little bit better. Apu? Scum. Dude is scum. And it sucks too because I love Apu's powers. Meanwhile, and the part that really got people up in arms, we cut over to where Tama, Speed, Usopp, Nami, and several of the headliners are, and who do we happen to see but a pair of legs running through the building asking for help. It is none other than the legs of Kinemon, profusely bleeding, but it's the legs of Kinemon, who is speaking through his boots, much like on Punk Hazard. And so they do their best to convey Kinemon's legs that they are allies. As Kinemon's legs are trying to get some help to where he is, so that Kikunojo can be treated for her injuries. Apparently, Kiku is still breathing to some degree, and the only reason why Kinemon managed to survive is because apparently he was never actually put back together correctly. Well, he hypothesizes why this happened. And apparently the split that Law had given him, Law had never actually sealed it back up. So when Kinemon was stabbed, his body just split back apart, which raises the question, because I've always honestly wondered that. Yeah, it's stupidly contrived that any of them are alive after all of this, but regardless, I've always wondered if someone who Law has split apart and attached to something else, something weird, could ever just be reattached back to their body. Because we saw some really messed up stuff happen when we first saw Law in Sapodi, and I always wondered, like, because when they were fighting the Marines, Law was attaching people to whatever, whenever, wherever, and I kept wondering, okay, they can't live like that. They can't just be split apart and never be joined back together, can they? There has to be a way of putting them back on their proper bodies, and this answers my question. Yeah, you can. Just with enough force, you just pop them off, put them back on their bodies. They're not going to always stick with any effort. They'll split back apart again unless Law completely seals them back to their body. But, I mean, yeah, you kind of can. And it's just like, oh, that's weird. Like, that's the thing about Law's powers that I've always questioned. It's just like, Law's powers, people have said it left, right, and center. They're broken. But there is a sense of reason to them. And this, honestly, adds a sense of reason that I've always kind of thought might be the case. And it's interesting because, yeah, to a certain degree, I really thought maybe Kinemon would just be down, but you can't fully think that with Oda. Unless an arc fully comes to an end and that person is just shown to never show up again. And even when you get one of those cover pages, because we thought Pound was dead for the longest time, and then nope, there he is. But then we haven't seen Peckham's and Pedro, so while Kiku and Kinemon dying the way that they did, well, potentially having died the way that they would have raised the stakes of things. I'm not actually kind of broken up that they're alive personally. Now, the part that I am very taken aback by is the fact that Orochi gets in contact with Kanjuro. Kanjuro is still alive, and that's the part I'm like, really? Really? Dang it! After all of that, like, especially after the way the anime depicted his initial death, they did such a good job. It's like, oh, nope, he's still alive. Okay, second time's the charm. He's dead now. Nope, he's still alive. Like, motherfucker, just die. He really is a terrible actor who can't just end his death scene. But, I mean, he can, if he was barely able to move before, he is absolutely unable to move now. It takes a lot of pep talk from Orochi to get him to just do one final thing, talking about, hey, isn't it time for just one more performance? Don't you hear the crowd shouting out your name, chanting, cheering? They want more. Come on, show the burning hatred of the Korazumi clan. One last bit of terror. A burning terror that will descend deep into the very depths of Onigashima, right where the ammunition is. And that's what Kanjuro creates. A burning apparition that goes through walls and sets everything ablaze. Apparently, this is why Orochi has just been setting everything on fire. If you burn enough things and that fire gets to the base of Onigashima, everything goes up. Like, that's where all the weaponry and ammunition is. If that happens, everything just burns. So, man, Onigashima really has become hell, because everywhere you turn is a sea of flames, and the fire just keeps getting closer and closer to everyone. And poor Momo, because more and more of the bottom of Onigashima is falling away as Kaido faces off against Luffy. So the desperate situation keeps increasing more and more. And the townspeople, they're still, off in the flower capital, having a good time. Strump, all that good stuff. None the wiser. And Momo has just taken to just creating all the little flame clouds that he can in order to build up enough that he can hopefully save Onigashima. Oh, it feels so bad for Momo, because you can see the outlook of where he is and where Onigashima is and how much clouds he's created. It's not going to be enough. He can't do this within 5 minutes. The poor guy. And you see Brooke and Robin trying to make their way to safety. CP0 has finally moved out. Marco, Izo, Kawamatsu battling against various Beast Pirates members. Sanji's still fighting against Queen. Zoro's still fighting against King. Luffy's still fighting against Kaido. All the while Orochi is holed up with any valuables I guess he could get his hand on, or he's just barricaded himself in some place. I'm not sure, but he's banking on Kanjuro just lighting this place ablaze and setting it up, but he's also wondering where Fukurokuju is so that he can help him escape. So it's just like, and now it's time for Fukurokuju to fall at the hands of Raizo, so that way Orochi can go up with his own plan. Oh, the dramatic irony of that one. Meanwhile, Yamato is desperately trying to make their way to the basement. Like, oh god, I gotta get there. I gotta get there before everything goes up. Because we see Yamato kind of lay out a map of where things are. Yamato has only just made it to the very front entrance of Onigashima, and we can see that Yamato has to go down 1, 2, 3 levels and then at the very bottom is the storehouse where the armaments are at the top storehouse, and all of the explosives are at the very bottom. That's why all of this is so volatile. All the explosives are at the very bottom of Onigashima. This shit is going to go up like a friggin' Roman candle. But as Yamato's making their way, they see this massive blast of energy come booming out of the initial entrance to Onigashima, where the hall is, and it's Kid's Punk Gibson being blasted back by Big Mom's Ikoku Sovereign as she's dedicated to finishing off Kid first. But apparently this was all part of Kid and Law's plans. See, what we learn is that both Kid and Law have both awakened their Devil Fruit abilities. Yes, they are awakened Devil Fruit users, which makes a lot of sense. At this level, they should definitely have awakened their abilities. Like, if Doflamingo could awaken his abilities, it makes sense that they could. But the downside to both of them having awakened ability is, unlike whereas Doflamingo, he uses his awakened abilities, he's pretty much fine. He uses it with a finesse. Law and Kid, they haven't had much practice with it, and if they use it, they're done. Like, there's no fighting further. So, Kid tells him, Law, use your ability. It is a last resort. Back me up, and we will do our damnness to finish the bitch off. And so Law does it. As Big Mom is focusing on Kid, Law comes up behind her, creates Karuma. And now I did not misspeak, it is Karuma, where he basically, instead of the regular room bubble expanding out, he compresses it and then takes his katana, coats it with the room energy bubble, and then he takes it, stabs it right through Big Mom. But it doesn't penetrate her like normally how you would think, because, Big Mom's pretty much impenetrable, except by all the men who have given her all them kids. Ew. But Law says that Karuma doesn't do anything on its own, but it can create shockwaves within an enemy, which, that's literally the best shot of taking down people like Big Mom and Kaido. Just attack them from the inside out. These iron balloon motherfuckers. And it does a great deal of damage. His attack called Shock Will or Shock While or something like that, and it just damages the shit out of Big Mom. It's honestly very reminiscent of when he used Gamma Knife the first time against Doflamingo. Or was it Radio Knife? Either way, it just really does do a number on Big Mom, and for the first time ever, we see Big Mom bleed. Throughout all this series, all the damage that Luffy has tried to inflict on her, this is the first time we see Big Mom legit shed a drop of blood. And she's pissed. She's like, you little shit. So she looks back to Law, but hey, Kid is also here. And he's just like, have some magnetism. And so he uses his attack, a sign, which turns her magnetic, and Napoleon just immediately sticks to her head. And then all of the Beast Pirates' weaponry starts sticking to her and flooding to her. And then the metal beams of the tower start flowing to her. And as Law and Kid manage to room themselves out of the way, Kid uses Punk Clash to just bring everything metal crashing in on Big Mom, ending the chapter, which is pretty awesome. Do I think this has finished her off? Fuck no. Absolutely the fuck no. No, 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 no. No, that's not enough to do this big bitchin'. It's gonna take at least a little bit more than that. Which is unfortunate because I would have loved to have seen it be a combination of Law and Kid taking her down ultimately, but this would be a great time for Law and Kid to surpass their limitations, go the distance, and take Big Mom down fully. Now, do I believe that Contra is dead? Yes. They're really trying. It's basically the whole thing of the cheesy actor who's just really milking his death scene as much as he can, and it's just like, oh, I wasn't dead, that was acting, I'm still alive, but I'm back for one more death scene. Like, it's a common trope in terms of bad actors, so I can see that. But honestly, I've kind of always believed that all of the Scabbards would live. Like, I've long since held a belief that the Scabbards would live, that none of them will fully die. Honestly, I'm expecting Ashura Doji to get up at any point. But Contra, no. He's probably dead. Like, that's the thing. Oda is a little bit more willing to kill off villains than heroes a lot of the time. And when it comes to Apu and Drake, Drake's gonna take him down. Like, Drake is definitely gonna take Apu down. It feels like that's only a matter of time. I'm not expecting anything really out of Drake and Apu, aside from Drake kicking Apu's ass. But the fact that Apu knew that he was a spy, I mean, anyone could have seen that. It is only a matter of time, especially when them being outed and all that good stuff. So we'll just have to see what happens next. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you think the Apu versus Drake battle will go down? Will Drake need some help? What do you think about both Kinemon and Kikunojo and even Kanjuro still being alive? Do you think Kanjuro has finally had his final curtain? Or do you think he'll manage to survive yet again in some miraculous way? And what about Kid in Law versus Big Mom? Do you think this managed to take her down, or are you expecting one big massive final attack from Kid to really do the bitch in? Because, the inside damage is the hardest part. Now, with that, maybe Big Mom is weakened enough that outside damage might start affecting her as well. So let's just see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.